Greetings, everyone. We are live again. Dynasty Mir, Search for Uhuru. Thank you so much for joining us, as we always do. We just want to thank you all for the support. It really means a lot. Thank you for being a part of the Search for Uhuru family. Guys, make sure you go to dynastymir.com. Again, please make sure you go to dynastymir.com. Like, share, subscribe. A couple more announcements. Tour, Sierra Leone. We are rolling. We are rolling to Sierra Leone. We have a nice, decent sized group as well. April 19th, leaving from Chicago, headed over to Sierra Leone. Tour ends on the 29th. We're going to have a good time. And also, if you're interested in citizenship, DNA, well, my name is Cyrilix. Email me for more details. So if you have any questions, if you're interested in citizenship, please email me and I will send you the link so you can find out what's required. Patreon.com, search for Uhuru. Again, please go to patreon.com, search for Uhuru, become a monthly patron. Thank you so much for the support. Without further ado, we have Brother Eric Powell on today. And let me give the disclaimer. We're going to be discussing blockchain, cryptocurrency. I'm not a professional. Invest at your own risk. There we go. Invest at your own risk. What we're sharing with you are our opinions. So, invest at your own risk, all that good stuff. I guess that's enough for the disclaimer. So without further ado, Brother Powell, go ahead.
So good evening, everybody. So my name is Eric Powell. I own a company called Riley Industries in San Antonio, Texas. I'm also a blockchain advisor for CompTIA, which is a nonprofit certification board for the IT community. So today we will be talking about Pan-Africanism and just how blockchain can help with that. And Dynas, I wanted to keep this freestyle because the last time I was on, I sort of had prepared notes and talked about things. How would you like to approach this evening?
However you want to. The floor is yours.
Well, okay. So one of the things I want to talk to you, I got it last time I was on. I got several emails from different people, and they came up with some really good questions on things that I wasn't even thinking about. So, and one of the things that they asked me was, did you start? Is there any way I can read up on things that you wrote on the subject? And I was like, you know what, you're right. I haven't done a lot of reading, so I started to create like an outline of all the things that at least I know in my head. Mm-hmm. and to write that, and maybe I'll turn this into either a blog or a book or something like that. So it got my the mental juices going. So one of the things I noticed was during doing the research for this, the Nigerian entertainment industry is a $6.4 billion industry, just the music industry.
Wow.
And that you can find it on reap.mit.edu. There was a case study on Nigeria for that. And so when you think about music is something very approachable. You don't have to put in a lot of capital to create music nowadays. You can, get a laptop, a microphone, maybe get some time in a booth somewhere, and you can create music. But one of the parts that is a drawback to music, and we see this here in the States, is that musicians may not fully get paid for what they do. So they make the music, they get these crazy deals with the producers, like the Suge Knights of the music industry, and nobody knows how they're getting paid. It's so convoluted. So one of the things that blockchain can do with that, it can help musicians, it can help producers, it can help people who own the assets to the music or the rights to the music figure out where that music is going, how it was made, etc. So for example, if you're playing a song on a radio, not only do you want to know that your song is going to get played 10 times on the radio, and you need to get residuals from that or a check from that, but you also want to know if you make a jingle for a commercial, you want to know how many times that commercial played and how many times you can get paid. So with blockchain, you can stamp your digital asset and be able to see how frequently it gets played, and where that money goes and where that information goes. So that's just one example.
Right. And are you speaking on NFTs? Are you? Is that where you're?
Well, you can
bring it up, or
not really NFTs, but let's say you watermark the song. Let's say you made a song and you gave a digital copy to a radio station, or let's say a commercial jingle, right? How do you know that radio station is going to play your jingle 10 times out of the day that you ask them to play it?
Right.
Right. So let's say you had a Tide commercial. I see those all the time in Jamaica. And I pay a radio station, say, hey, play this 10 times. I want it morning rush hour, lunchtime rush hour, evening rush hour, and then maybe middle of the night. So unless I'm sitting there listening to hear that the radio station has done that, I don't really know. So what you can do is you can put a digital watermark on the song, and that digital watermark can be connected to the blockchain. And the blockchain, because it's immutable, no one can erase it. You can see that your music has been played before, or played as much as you want it to be played. And then there's no way the radio station can rip you off. There's no way anybody else can rip you off because it's in the blockchain. So it's not necessarily an NFT. It's just more of a record keeping, which blockchains are like a form of a ledger. That's just one example that you can use that right now today in Nigeria to make sure Nigerian musicians use that approach, or make sure they get paid and the other things get played. Any questions on that before?
No. Let's continue.
All right. So here's another example: is the cannabis industry. This is one that I've been watching and praying for decades, that the world / United States finally wakes up to cannabis and opens up to it. And we see that it looks like that's how things are going to play out, at least for the next decade. And Africa, because Africa is such a rich continent in every possible way and form, that European interests, American interests, Canadian interests, they're actually going to Africa, different parts of Africa, like Uganda, I think Tanzania, I'm not sure, but I definitely know South Africa, but one of those places. And they are buying up land to plant cannabis for medicinal purposes and then shipping it back to Africa, shipping it back to Europe, or shipping it back to Canada.
I think Namibia might be a country as well.
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm thinking of. So yeah, it's somewhere in the south, or
Namibia. I think Namibia.
Right. So yeah, that's a 7. I'm just looking at my notes here. By 2023, that's going to be a $7.1 billion industry, just the cannabis industry alone in Africa for the continent. We're talking about billions of dollars. We're not talking about millions of dollars. So imagine someone says, you know what? I want to know that my cannabis plant actually came from South Africa. So this Durban poison that I'm smoking is straight from
Durban,
or at least the area, right?
Right.
And it's not from some guy's basement
from China,
or Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or something like that. So the point is, with blockchain technology, you can start to put that DNA of that seed or that plant on the blockchain. Now, here's where an NFT can come in place. So you can put the DNA or some kind of DNA marker of the plant on a blockchain through an NFT and say, look, here's my plant. Everybody can see that this is the DNA marker for my plant. All you've got to do is, if you get a sample of this, compare that DNA sample that you have in your hand, compare it to what you see in the NFT, and then that is the Durban poison from Africa versus the street gig that somebody built it on. So this is not only for the cannabis industry, but I presented it that way because people usually perk up when they hear that. But you can also apply this to other aspects of the agribusiness in Africa, which is huge right now because Africa has so much fertile soil. It's exporting a lot of its food to places like Saudi Arabia. And like you said before, China is using the African continent and the different countries there to be the China of China. In so many words. So African business owners, so let's say yourself, you're tied into the African business world there. If you wanted to start a farm whether it's selling cattle or ranch with animals on it, or a plant, etc. You can start to create a record of the flow of your product to the end user by using blockchain.
All right. Guys, hit that like button. Please hit the like button as you come to the chat room. Also, we will be opening up the lines in about 30 minutes. So if you'd like to call in, you can. I will put the email in the chat room and just send me email and I'll forward you the link. Wahid has a good question. Is there any blockchain built specifically for or by Africans? Because this Chinese-backed A-coin, which hasn't kicked off yet.
Okay, I'm glad.
Because Eric, there's a lot of I would say, in fact, it's called the Odua coin. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I'm just getting
okay. Give me your honest opinion on that, and like what's backing it, the utility, or is this more like, look, this is a coin by Black folks, you need to get behind it? Like what?
Okay, so I'm gonna say this. If you're out there and you're listening, please don't just rush into this and say, oh, the show said that, and so I'm gonna buy something. The first thing to say. The second thing I'm going to say is, I had a chance to listen to the presentation of the gentleman that set this Odua coin up, and I was very. He's very African focused. He's very us focused on building us up, and I think that has value to it. Right. Now, let's talk about Odua coin. Odua coin is, from my cursory knowledge of it, is simply it's basically a clone of Bitcoin,
right?
But it's Black owned and operated. All right, all right. So so that's just facts, right? So I'm going to buy some Odua coin. I haven't done it yet because my money is tied up in a lot of other stuff right now. But before the month is out, I'm going to buy $500 worth of Odua coin. Here's why. It's Black owned, it's Black operated, it's operating it in Africa. It's going to spur the economy of Africans. So that's why I'm going to buy it.
Okay.
And here's why. Because there's literally thousands of coins out there.
Right.
If we're jumping on the Asian man's coin, we're jumping on the Caucasian man's coin, we can jump on the Black man's coin. So that's what I'll say about Odua coin.
Okay. All right. Now, but Wahidism brings up a good point, though. Like, we talk about these coins, but are we actually creating the technology? Like, where's the Black people, African people who are actually making the technology that backs these coins, or the utility behind these coins, or just in general?
I heard like 2 or 3 questions roll up in one like a burrito. So
okay, we could break it down, I guess.
All right,
question by question.
All right. So the first question I recall is, where are Black people in this industry? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, somewhat like, so you have Ethereum, you have Cardano, so you have the coin, but then you have like the tech behind the coin. As far as like the blockchain and the different systems where you can, I guess, build apps, decentralized apps on these blockchains or these systems. Like, where are the black developers who are, equivalent to, the guy who developed Ethereum and the guy who developed a Cardano, or, these other coins, the utility? So
if we're focusing on Black people, I mean, like anything in tech, we're few and far in between it. So that's not a weakness of the system. That's not a weakness of the majority. That's a weakness of us, of failing to one, have these discussions more often in forms that we support, and then 2 is a failure of just organizing unto itself. So we're out here. I mean, I'm here right now.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm, the biggest guy in blockchain. By no means am I that, but I'm still in the industry somewhat. So the point is, I try to do things like go on meetup.com. I'm not sure if people on the continent have access to that, but if you do, definitely get on that. And I try to go to meetups now with the C virus. I try to get on there digitally,
right? Right.
With people. So you got to put yourself in proximity to other people. So I look at it like this: if you were hunting for a polar bear, you wouldn't go to the Sahara to find a polar bear.
Right.
You'd probably go to North Pole to do that. So it's the same thing. So if you're a Black person outside and listening to this right now, and you're interested in blockchain, you need to seek out other Black people that are just as, if not more, interested than you are. You need to try to punch as high as you can, because those are the people that are going to help you. So I'll say it in another way that a lot of people get. When I was younger and more fit, I used to try to play basketball with the older kids, which were teenagers. Right. I didn't want to play basketball with the kids that were my age, because I learned how to play ball rough with the bigger guys. I got beat up, not beat up like literally beat up, but
right.
Getting physical with them made me stronger, made me think, okay, look, I got to run faster as guys. I got to, do other things. And that's how my game got better, by just being with those kinds of people. So did that answer that question?
Yes, it did.
All right, so what was the other parts of the question?
I mean, that was pretty much the question. I guess I just separated. Just where are the Black versions of Cardano and Ethereum? And
so
because when I research these different coins, I go on I look at their roadmap, and I go on their sites, and I'm not seeing any Black CEOs, or I'm not even seeing any Black people, period, as far as their team. It's Indian, white, and Indian, white, and Asian. Those three.
Right. So here's the problem. There's another problem going on. This industry is moving so fast. It's moving so fast that I'm having trouble keeping up with everything.
Right.
The things move. So here's the problem right now today is that the majority of Black people got left out on stage 0, stage 1, and now we're on stage 2. So I think you're old enough to remember when the internet was first coming online, right?
My dad was probably one of the only people in the neighborhood who had AOL dial-up. And
right.
Then I think Netscape. It was, yeah.
Yep. So I'm old enough to remember when Amazon was one page. So that was it was one page, dude. And it took 10 minutes to load right, on dial-up. So the problem is blockchain has moved from a place where geeks and crypto enthusiasts jumped on it as just a hobby, and they were mining on their computer. Then it moved on, oh crap, I can make money on this.
Right.
And it was like, sort of gray area, because the government was saying that criminals are using this. Now we've gotten to a point where this is full blown, this is mainstream. Governments and big companies are starting to get on this. So as a people, the bus is already left, and we're looking around like, okay, how are we going to get to where that bus is going? So we're already behind as a group. So I think right now, at this point, we've got to eject any kind of expectations of moving along the same pace that the industry is going. So what I will say is that Akon appears to be doing a really good job of promoting his coin. Mm-hmm. He's got a use case for it. If we're in the U.S., but unfortunately we cannot buy that coin, at least legally in the U.S. So if you're not in the U.S., and I think it's being sold on Binance, I think so.
I could go on CoinMarketCap right now and look.
Okay.
Let's see here. Here we go. Acoin, where you at? All right, it's at 43 cents. There's some change. Loading. Dude, this thing has, hold on. Price change 24 hours. Goodness. This coin is almost more than 10x. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, it's on Bittrex.
Right. I don't think you can buy it in the States. So if you're outside of the States and you can buy it, definitely throw some money at that. And if things work out, you win big, and take it as a gamble. So we just named two, at least two. I remember another one, but I think they either folded or they just became obscure. So
there's the guap coin too. It's I guess it was started by a black lady. It's called the guap coin.
Right. So now, fair balance. Don't just throw your money at something because it's black owned and black owned. Okay, fair balance, right?
Uh-huh.
So highest quality black owned business, try to support it. But on the other hand, you've got to take a step back and say, look, this is about making money. It's not necessarily about, it's not all ideology as far as supporting black people, right? Because at the same time, you don't want to lose money. Your money is hard earned as well. So that goes to something that I said on the last episode I was on was you've got to leverage the system in a way that benefits you as an individual and benefits you as Pan-Africanism.
Right.
So when we look at Ethereum and Bitcoin, those are the big dogs right now. How can black people in Africa and here use those two platforms to benefit what we need to do? That's the biggest thing. So we need to take a book out of the page of the Asians, such as Japan, South Korea, China. Sorry, my computer's talking.
No problem.
What they do is they're not trying to be innovative. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. What they do is they take technology that's already out there, make it their own, and put a twist on it to solve their problems.
Right.
And that's the same thing that the diaspora and the continent needs to do with all technologies. You don't necessarily have to come up with a brand new coin. Take the coin that's already out there, leverage that to solve your problems. So, for example, the NFTs, the non-fungible tokens.
Right.
I think he started I saw an ad for a realtor, African real estate thing, venture that you're into, though.
Yeah. Co-owner.
Right. So, for example, so if you're a co-owner of a real estate venture, if an African technologist came to you and say, "Hey, Dynas, you're a brand name now. You're not just an individual. Here's something I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put real estate deeds on an NFT that I created on the Ethereum network." When people see this, it's on the Ethereum network. They see it's legit. When they see it's an NFT, they understand it's on the blockchain. Everybody can see it. And then three, that solves a problem for the African continent. And the problem is it's difficult to find out where deeds are. It's difficult to find out who's in the house, etc.
Exactly.
So that's low-hanging fruit right there.
Right. All right, guys, hit that like button. And I know last time you brought up the idea as far as, I guess, renting out satellite space.
Yeah.
The proper plots and.
You know what? That was something I thought of on the fly like a year ago.
Right.
And I started doing the research for it, and it's easier than I thought. I actually got it on a window here, I think. I don't want to give up my idea.
No. You don't have to. You don't have to.
Okay.
No, completely understand. No worries.
But the point is, it's possible. So yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll go to the next topic.
Right.
It's all good. Okay. Question. So, what as far as Cardano? Are you familiar with Cardano? Because I'm hearing a lot about Cardano and what they're doing in Africa. What exactly are they doing in Africa, allegedly?
Actually, I'm familiar with Cardano, but I don't know what they're doing in Africa.
Because it's like Cardano ADA is now synonymous with projects in Africa, but it's like, okay, this big Africa deal is going to happen, and it's coming, but we don't know when it's coming or if it's coming, and I just don't know what they're actually doing in Africa. But guys, hit that like button, and we're going to open up the lines here in about 10 minutes, and you're more than welcome to call in and ask your question. Let's see here. Hi, there's a black-owned crypto called SIFChain. Erwan. CEO is an African-American developer called Marcus. I'm gonna look that up. Sif Chain. Sif Chain. Okay.
How you spell that?
SIFCHAIN. That's how we spelled it in the chat room. Here we go. Sifchain dot finance. Let's see here. So I don't know. This is a lending.
This is a black company because he's talking about.
Are you? I'm gonna click on our team. Let me click on our team. Let's see, our team. What is this? Are you trolling? Here we go. Our diverse and talented team of operators. Yeah, but I mean, we don't know who the actual. They're not showing the team. This is weird. It's like they're showing cartoons for the team. Like, show the actual team. So that's a red flag for me.
All right. I see that this is
that's a red. This is a red flag already to me. I mean, no offense, but if I want to know who so when I do my research on a specific coin, I go on the site. I want to see the team, what experience they have, who they're connected with, as far as previous companies or corporations or organizations. Bios. Like, this is I don't know what this is. It's like what is this?
But even then, you got to dig deeper because a lot of people say, "Oh, I go to the website, I read the white paper." 99% of people, they don't even understand what the white paper is saying. It's saying a lot of technical gobbledygook that most people don't understand. So don't just take a nice shiny website as a good calling card to throw money at. Definitely understand the project and then understand what they're trying to accomplish. So, for example, let's use a Duo coin. So here's the great things about a Duo coin. It's a known quantity. He just replicated what we already know, right? And then two, the way he's trying to execute is saying, look, this is an alternative currency that you can use in Africa. So now I understand who owns it. I understand the technology behind it because it's just simply a clone, which is good. Mm-hmm. It has its good points. And then third, he's using it as a currency. So he's not trying to sell it as a IPO thing. He's not trying to sell it as digital gold, etc. So it's very transparent. So that unfortunately that site you just brought up, it was kind of a turn on. So I don't know.
I'm like, what is it? I'm thinking the guy was trolling in the chat room.
Probably.
I think he was trolling in the chat room. He had to be trolling. Yeah. Like, I kind of want to screen share. In fact, let me screen share this site. Guys, hit the like button. So this is what you're referring to? Oh, let me go back to it. Sif Chain. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. All right, share the screen. Hey, Kellen, we just covered that, brother, as far as A coin. Let's see here. Brave tab. All right, so this is the coin that's owned by a brother right here. And then when you click on about our team, hey, you guys, listen, we're trying to have a serious conversation. You guys can't be in here trolling.
If he did not say it was owned by a brother, then I would have just took it as face value. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm never judge a book by its cover. So maybe I'm just looking at this all wrong.
Yeah. So, okay, all right. Let's stop that.
So the other point I wanted to make was DeFi. So DeFi is something that was promised 2 years ago during the last run up, but they really have dialed it in on the technology and the use cases right now. So I think that's someplace where a lot of people, if you don't have a lot of money or access to technology, or you don't want to be the technical guy, you can start to do things with DeFi. So what do I mean by that? Meaning, let's say I'll just throw out a number, $100, and you bought some Ethereum. I'm just using this example. With DeFi, you can actually stake. What they call staking is just basically, it's almost like creating a savings account and earning interest.
Right.
So I think that's another area where a lot of people that it's still new to them, they're not tech savvy. This is one way that you can beat the savings, negative savings rate in some countries, but low savings rate like what we have in the States, or even beat stocks in some ways, or bonds, which are also stocks.
I mean, do we even have a savings rate here in the U.S.? Was it like 0.0000001%? Like it's not even.
It's effectively zero. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and if you remember, the inflation rate in the United States is anywhere between 3 and 4% on average.
Right.
So you want to beat 4% growth on your dollars. Otherwise, your dollar is losing value.
Exactly.
So did you want to move on to the just how to get involved in the industry?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that. For people who don't know where to get started, like how do they get started? And in fact, Eric, let me get your opinion on this. And again, guys, let me give the disclaimer: we are not financial advisors. Invest at your own risk. That's your disclaimer. Bitcoin. I'm just curious. You got your crystal ball in front of you. It's right there in front of you.
Right.
Where do you see it running up to by the end of this year?
So based on the Plan B's model that he came out with, the what's the name of the model? Stock to flow model. That's what it is. Based on Plan B stock to flow model, by the end of this year, Bitcoin is supposed to be around $100,000. Okay. However, we think, or people who are bullish on Bitcoin believe it's going to be more because major companies and governments are buying whatever Bitcoin is on the market. So they're not ignoring it anymore. If you notice, Chase Bank is not throwing shade at it. They're not throwing FUD at Bitcoin anymore, saying, don't buy it. It's a phone. Banks are setting up their own infrastructure to hold Bitcoin for their clients. Right. A gentleman at MIT just went to work for the government. He was a professor for blockchain technology. He knows cryptocurrency very well. He just went to work for the government. So the winds are blowing that major adoption is on the way. And so if major adoption is on the way, we understand that based on supply and demand, if there's a lowering supply and with a high demand, that means the value of the coin is going to go up. Right. So I don't think we're going to see the historical 80% drop in Bitcoin during the crash that we saw maybe 2 or 3 times before. I think if it does crash like it usually does at the end of this cycle, it's not going to be as pronounced as it was before.
Because from my understanding, and shout out to Crypto Blacks who's in the chat room, March has been historically, I guess, bad month for crypto, and right now it looks like it's doing well.
Yeah, so there's two major things or 3 major things that go on with crypto as far as the macroeconomics. One is most of the mining in Bitcoin is in a place in China. I don't remember exactly, but they have cheap electricity in this place where they mine most of the Bitcoin. And so if they get, and what they do is they hook up their machines to power supplies that are based on hydroelectric power.
Right.
So when that region gets a lot of rain, it's good. If they get too much rain, it's bad. If they don't get any rain, it's bad. Last year was a very good year for them. So that's part of the run up. So when we see a lot of these major dives in the price of the market, a lot of times it's those mining corporations or mining interests that they try to recoup their costs by dumping Bitcoin on the market.
Okay.
That's the first thing. The second thing is the Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year usually happens anywhere between right around now in January, early February, depending on how the calendar falls. And so in China, everything shuts down for a week. And so it's Chinese custom that they give cash during this time. So you'll also see a minor dip at that point. And then finally, the United States, which is the larger economy of the two between China, it depends on, what metric you're looking at. But then you also see people who are getting their tax refunds. And so they might get their tax refunds and buy crypto. And so you might see a price go up from there. Or they might, spend too much for the holidays and now they're selling their crypto to recoup it to pay for their holiday debt.
Right. So for people who don't know, what gives Bitcoin its value? Like what is Bitcoin's value attached to?
The value, this is where we gotta go in our way back machine and
okay.
Go. So
let's go.
If you go back to 2009 ish, you remember at least actually in the global market, we had the global meltdown. And that was caused by just the buffoonery that was going on Wall Street in the United States and other places in the world. And so a person called Satoshi came up with Bitcoin. And he said, look, this is supposed to be a P2P cash system so that you don't have to rely on the money by governments. And so that was the initial appeal of it.
Right.
And so we see that since the US dollar is being devalued at a greater rate, I mean, the people in Washington, they really just don't care about economics. Right. The current administration and the Congress just signed a bill to print $2 trillion that somebody's going to have to pay back at some point.
Right.
Hopefully it's not me. But the point is the US dollar is pretty much not based on anything. It's not based on gold. It's just based on, actually it is based on something. It's based on the bullet of the United States military.
Right.
And so nobody's going to come collect on the US government because we have nukes, we've got bombs, etc. But at some point, the US dollar is not going to be able to use the military to protect itself from just the economic reality of a limited dollar. So now that I've given you the crash course on that, just the macroeconomics of that, Bitcoin is a true form of currency. So it's a term that we call sound money, meaning that it's not centralized. There's no government control over it. You cannot shut this down. You can't print more. And that's what gives it its value, is that we know mathematically how much Bitcoin is out there, how much Bitcoin is going to be there. And then we can, by the market, give it a value based on supply and demand.
All right. Okay. Guys, we'll do this. We'll take a couple callers. If you'd like to call in and ask a question, send me an email at uhuru@searchforuhuru.com. uhuru@searchforuhuru.com. Send me an email at uhuru@searchforuhuru.com. Mr. Powell, I don't know if you read, so Nigeria, I guess they're encouraging people to not use anything that's peer-to-peer as far as transactions, as far as Bitcoin. Right. And they're doing that by, I guess, giving people money just by using their system that's already in place. So I gotta find this article. I'm gonna find this article. But let's see here. Nigeria. Like it's hilarious. Let's see here, Nigeria. Here we go. Nigeria to pay. Here we go. Nigeria is now rewarding citizens. Nigeria is now rewarding citizens for using licensed money senders, not crypto. The Naira for $1 scheme is a bid to funnel remittances through official channels. Meanwhile, peer-to-peer Bitcoin remains popular. The Central Bank of Nigeria is incentivizing citizens to use licensed international money transfer operators to send and receive money, according to a report by BBC. In a letter dated March 5th and signed by Associate Director A.S. Jibrin, the CBN said it launched the Naira for $1 scheme for remittances in a bid to funnel payments from abroad through official channels. Yeah.
Right. So good point. Yeah, I actually read something very similar about that. And this attacks the remittance economy. So several developing nations, are very, dependent on the amount of remittances they receive from outside of the country. So if you don't know what a remittance is, think of it as your uncle that goes to U.S., he gets a job, let's say as a taxi driver or whatever, and he sends home $1,000 a month of U.S. dollars to his home country, let's say in Nigeria. Right. So $1,000 in Nigeria, I don't know how far that goes, but let's say he's able to sustain his extended family with that wherever they may be. So that means that money is being pumped into the Nigerian economy. And so if we see that Nigeria is saying, hey guys, you're screwing up our sensitive economy by not using the remittance, et cetera, to send money, then a lot of people in that chain don't get the benefits of that. So think about the money changer, such as Western Union, whoever owns that Western Union in Nigeria.
All right.
Think about the cash that has to go through all the different handlers. Think about the exchange rate, people who make money off the exchange rate. So this is something that's been around for decades and it's starting to be disruptive. So I looked that up the other day. In 2018 alone, just for Nigeria, it was $23.63 billion. Let's call it $24 billion in remittances being sent from the U.S. to Nigeria alone. $23 billion. And so Nigeria has historically had issues with their currency. They've had issues with taxation and employment. Right. They can't fool around and not get $24 billion. So they got to stop that immediately.
Right. Yeah, that's hilarious. So let's open up these lines. Guys, again, call in, email is Uhuru at searchforhuru.com, Uhuru at searchforhuru.com. Again, go ahead and call in Uhuru at searchforhuru.com, you guys.
And let me just give you some other statistics.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So just for 2018, 83% of remittances, 83% of Nigeria's federal budget was, remittances accounted for 83% of Nigeria's federal government budget. If you can believe that. Also, Nigeria gets foreign aid. They get $3.4 billion in foreign aid, and the remittances is 7 times larger than their foreign aid. Wow. So that should add some concrete to what I was saying about they can't afford to mess this up.
Let's see here. Kay Tafari, I'm about to send you the link right now. All right, Kay Tafari, I just sent you the link. Okay, Tafari, I just sent you the link. See what else we have going here. Shout out to Crypto Black in the chat room again. Again, shout out to brother Crypto Black. Let's see what else we have here in the chat room. Okay, Tafari, brother, I just sent you the link. Africa needs to invest in silicon fabrication that will earn us foreign exchange via crypto. Here we go. Tafari, go ahead, bro. You live.
Hello. Am I live?
Yeah, you're live.
Hey.
All right. I'm trying to sit here. I don't do this very much.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So here's the deal. All right. I've been kind of chatting on the thing and everything, but so this is my story. Okay. I got into Bitcoin back in 2013 before a lot of folks knew about it. I was doing, mining. I was buying up literally GPUs, graphics processing units, right? So I'm buying up these graphics processing units, and I'm literally doing these programs where you're literally putting in electricity and you're getting back crypto, right? So one thing I realized is over time, the difficulty of crypto increases, meaning the amount of electricity you have to put into to get a crypto back goes up. So maybe you have to put in 1 kilowatt to get back, 1 coin. And then, in a few months, you have to put in 2 kilowatts, and then in a few months, you have to put in 4 kilowatts, et cetera, right? So what I realized is the price and the power of the equipment that you use to mine the coins is controlled by 2 people, 2 entities, American companies and East Asian companies, primarily Chinese and Korean. Think AMD, and if you want to get called ASIC, which is basically a miner that's specifically dedicated to mining cryptos, you have to buy those like directly from China. The reason is because fabricating the hardware required to mine the Bitcoin is very difficult. It takes a lot of work. You need very clean rooms with people wearing white gowns and plastic sheet coverings, and you have to do a lot of validation checks, and it's very complicated to actually produce these processors, which go into transforming that raw electricity into the algorithm, which can then produce a coin. So the way you mine coins is basically through a pool miner. So what you do is you take a normal computer, you hook it up to a pool. That pool is connected with a bunch of people around the world, and all together they pool in their resources to mine these coins to produce something, and you get a fraction based on how much electricity you put in. That's how I was doing it back in the day. Now it's almost impossible to mine Bitcoins with your normal computer. Actually, back then it got so difficult we had to switch to other coins. For example, Dogecoin came out and Litecoin came out, which used a slightly different algorithm than Bitcoin called Scrypt, SCRYPT, which was specifically tailor-made to work better with GPUs as opposed to ASIC miners, ACIC. Problem is ASICs adapted and they kicked out all the GPU miners. And so there was kind of this, back and forth race for how do you allow a decentralized way to mine the coins, because what happens is when you have basically this conglomeration of ASIC miners, they end up controlling the vast majority of the mining pool, meaning in China, like you mentioned, Eric, China pretty much controls the lion's share of Bitcoin capacity. So if you want to mine a Bitcoin, chances are you're buying a Bitcoin that came from China, right? So when we talk about Africa and we want to participate in this global economy, what we really need to think about is how do we produce not the actual algorithms, because what you're doing when you clone a crypto, like a Sua coin or a coin or whatever, Dogecoin, whatever you're doing, you're just taking the algorithm and you're just re-implementing it. But anyone can pick up that algorithm and start mining those coins. And since China controls not necessarily the production of the coins, but they own the production of the hardware which goes to produce the coins, which is a step before that, they will always have the upper edge when it comes to controlling the market. So what Africa has to do, if we want to,
that's not true. That's not true. Sorry to cut you off, but that's not true.
Correct me. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Correct me.
It's a distributed network. So even if they're mining most of it, it's not that they necessarily control Bitcoin or control the market. Bitcoin can still be open to the rest of the world without one person controlling it. So now if they get to a point where they can do a 51% attack, the amount of technology and amount of effort for them to do that is not worth them doing it. And that's why Bitcoin has not been hacked. That's why Bitcoin has not been, owned by China per se.
You're right. I mean, it's more beneficial for them to just continue to sell the coins and they get foreign exchange as a result. So even though they have the option to control it, they choose not to because it's more profitable to just sell the coins as opposed to actually do the 51% attack. But they could if they wanted to. I'm just saying. They just don't want to because it doesn't make any sense. It's not profitable to do that. But the point I'm making is if Africa wanted to really use crypto in the best beneficial way for Africa, what we should do is invest in our own factories so that when we produce these processors and we can actually mine these coins, we can do what China is doing and sell the coins for foreign exchange. That way we're not relying on exports like agricultural exports or raw material exports, but we're just basically trading electricity for foreign exchange. And to me, that's the way forward, but Africa has to have that unified vision to say, look, crypto is basically a game changer. It basically allows you to convert raw electricity into foreign exchange, as opposed to, raw materials or something else, agricultural products. To me, raw electricity is a much better trade-off because with environmental degradation, deforestation, et cetera, you guys know the whole spiel on that. There's a lot of side effects. With electricity, it's not that big of a trade-off, You make the processors, you mine the coin, you sell the coins, and you have your money. So it's very profitable to do it. I just think, we need to have that vision to do it.
What are your thoughts on that, Eric?
Oh, my thoughts are, if you're waiting on Africa to make GPUs or ASICs, it ain't gonna happen. At least not enough time. It's just that you're talking about not only the production lines, you're talking about people that are educated enough. And you cannot do that in one generation. It took China maybe 2 or 3 generations of sending their people overseas to the United States, Canada, and other places, and then to come back and then teach their people to create that Asian tiger that they are. So I haven't seen any African nation willing to do that on a focused and productive scale that the Asian countries have done to build up their economies. So, I mean, that sounds great, but realistically, I just don't see that happening. Maybe Rwanda, but their current president would have to be, cloned and live forever for them to get to that point. Or some, I doubt if. I just don't.
We're behind. You're right. We're behind. Alternatively, if what we could do is just buy up what China's producing, that causes a little bit of an inefficiency, right? Because we have to pay money to get what they're producing. But at least at that point, you have some capacity. But the problem with that is because the difficulty rises over time to produce these coins, the ASICs you buy now will forever become less efficient as the future goes on, as time goes.
Right. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So real quick, I'm just saying, if you buy an ASIC worth, let's say $1,000 today, and that ASIC can produce $1,000 worth of Bitcoin in 2 months, right? If you wait 2 or 3 years, that ASIC is going to produce the same amount of coins over maybe a year or two. So it really helps to be on the cutting edge of the actual developing and designing and producing. And keep in mind that the key ingredient in silicon wafers is silica. The Earth's crust is made up of like 90% silica. It's sand, it's clay, it's rock. So it's not a scarce resource. It's just how do you turn rock into processes? If we can figure that out, we can kind of figure, we can get ahead of the curve. It's tough. It's not easy, but yeah, processors are like 90% silica. The reason they're so expensive is actually not the raw materials. It's actually 2 reasons: the intellectual property monopoly, right? So you can't just easily take what AMD is making or NVIDIA is making or ARM is making, ARM. You can't just take what they're doing and then reproduce it because they'll soon help. That's one reason why it's expensive. And then the other reason is because you need scientists to figure out how you turn sand into processes. But if you could figure those 2 things out, it's actually a very straightforward path to do it. Look at what just look at what China's doing and try to replicate it. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
Right. So I think what you're saying is great from a theoretical point of view, but it's not practical. So this goes back to what I was saying about missing the bus. Africa / the diaspora or people of I'll just say black people have already missed the bus on that. So, and we're not going to be able to. You're talking about private jet level of transportation right now. We're still walking on our own 2 feet on our own locomotion. So, I'll give you an example. Ghana has one power plant, and they shut off the electricity for X amount of time for people that aren't in the city. How can you possibly have a chip factory that needs to run 24/7 and needs to have backup generators, etc.? You've got to have labs, etc. They cannot afford to have any kind of power outages, downtime on the internet, etc. So these basic infrastructure problems have to be solved before we go there. However, you don't go to war all the time with the equipment that you want. You go to war with the equipment that you have. However, using things like DeFi, using things like a Duo coin or a coin, you can start to solve the problems that we have in Africa with the tools that we have right now. And now the 2 things that Africa needs to do to jumpstart that is, one, they need to move away from a socialist kind of economy and political system and move more towards market capitalism, which they are very slowly at a snail's pace, but it needs to increase. And then 2, actually 3 things. 2, they need to, after they get rid of all the regulations and the difficulties in doing business, 2, they need to educate their people on doing it. So instead of looking for the savior kind of politician or preacher or whatever,
white man,
or the white man is God kind of deal, they need to start to educate Black entrepreneurs in solving the actual problems that Africans have, and not educating them to solve the problems that Europeans have. The last one is the infrastructure problem. And so I think China with Africa is trying to solve that for better or worse. But I think as the old saying goes, beware of Greeks bearing gifts. I think China has become the new Greek, where they're giving gifts, and they're, unfortunately, those gifts might come at a steep cost that is yet to be known. So those are the 3 things that Africa needs to do before we even start to talk about major technology jumps like building chips. Yeah.
And I 100% agree with you. I think Africa is behind. I mean, Ghana is still worried about how to freaking produce vinylized chocolate with their cocoa, as opposed to selling it to Swiss or whoever. I'm like, come on, guys! Like, you're still worried about cocoa. We're way past cocoa and chocolate, right? So I agree with you. Like, Africa's way behind. I think that's where the diaspora has to come in. I mean, I'm an American, right? I'm African American. I was born here. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that we don't have at our fingertips here in America, or maybe if you're in the UK or whatever, right? I think if you look at Africans, the reason they're so behind is because it's a brain drain, right? Where all the smart people and all the engineers leave. I know a lot of Nigerians that work, in tech. I'm in tech. They work in tech. I know them. They're here. They're not there. Like my stepdad, he's Nigerian, right? He's here. He's not even thinking about going back to Nigeria.
Right.
So it's just one of those things where we actually could do it if we actually had the mindset collectively. Look at the Indians, for example, right? Indians, they have a community wherever they go in the world, whether it's the Caribbean, whether it's the West, wherever they go, even in Africa, they form communities. They keep that tight together, and they always send money back, and they always kind of communicate back and forth. Africans, as soon as we leave, we're like, okay, bye, fuck you, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? That's the mentality we have. Look at rappers, right? Rappers like, fuck you, pay me. Look what I got. We do that here, we do it there. So it's really our fault, to be honest, that we're not ahead because we don't work together like we should. And maybe that's a divide and rule, issue, or maybe that's just, something else. But it's nothing that we can't do. America has fabrication plants. We have 50 million African Americans that live here, and we have plenty that are in tech, and we have plenty of rich Americans that are here. Jay-Z, Oprah Winfrey, Dr. Dre.
Man,
what I'm saying? We just don't do it.
those are showcase Negroes, bro. They not trying.
Right, exactly.
They're not trying to get on that level, and that's no knock against them too. I'm quite sure if I had their kind of money, I'd probably be one too. Because guess what? They have the luxury of checking out. They're like, hey, I made my money. I'm just gonna chill. If I was married to Beyonce and I was a billionaire,
that's my point, man.
yeah, but that's human nature. That's human nature, and that goes back to the Jesus, the savior mentality that Black people have. You cannot wait for all the people who have the youth, the money, and the intent to come and solve the problem. If you look at the United States, what made the United States the greatest nation to ever sit on earth, and people will debate that, but when you look at the numbers, it is, period, right? Is because individuals have said, I'm not going to wait on the king. I'm not going to wait on the crown. I'm not going to wait on the White House to do something for me. I'm going to get on this horse. I'm going to go west. I'm going to do whatever it takes. It's not always the best thing. It's not always the most honorable thing, but it's going to make it happen, right? Same thing with Africans. Am I saying that Nigeria should invade Togo and take over Togo and enslave them and make them? No, by no means. But here's what I'm saying. And brother, I like your energy, and I'm going to challenge you to do something right now, because we got to get past talking about theory. We got to get past talking about what's right and wrong, and get to what can I do right now. And I'm going to ask you one simple question, and this is gonna lead the rest of the conversation. Do you have an account at a black bank in the United States? Yes or no?
Why you gotta put me on spot? No, I don't.
Okay.
I know. What's Killer Mike? Killer Mike in Atlanta.
Yeah, Greenwood Bank. But are you in Atlanta?
No, I'm in Memphis.
Memphis,
Okay.
Tennessee. Okay.
Yeah. Is there a black hole?
I'll probably be through there one day. You know what I'm saying? I'll probably come through.
All right. So here's I say this to every Black person who says the same thing that we've been saying since W. Du Bois time. So, bro, it starts with you. You got to open up a black bank account, and you got to help grow those banks. This is how Silicon Valley was started. This is why Sergey Brin at Google got $100K to start Google back in 1999. I remember reading about that in my early to mid 20s when they were still graduate students. And I did not understand how that money worked. That's called venture capital. And so in order to create Facebook, Google, Microsoft, etc., you have to have access to venture capital. In order to get access to venture capital, you have to have strong banks, and money has to be something that's a knowledge within your community. You cannot build your community by building other communities up by going to their businesses and their banks.
100%, and that's what we do, right? We don't. I 100% agree on that, and that's a key issue with the black community. When you look at Chinese folks, when you look at Asians, when you look at whites, et cetera, what do? They start businesses and they have a community that supports their businesses. But when you come to the black community, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't like that nigga over there, blah blah blah, this that. And it's like you said with the bourgeoisie, black celebrities, like they just like whatever. Like when Oprah Winfrey got her money, she started the immediate thing she started doing was shitting on niggas like Ludacris. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember that. I remember looking at the news and seeing that shit. Like, damn, Oprah, like you a billionaire, and why you know, like he getting his, you know. So it's like that's what we do, and until we get that mindset. And it's not just African Americans, it's also Africans. Like a lot of the Africans, especially Nigerians that come here to America, they really don't. And I've talked to them. I've talked to people because I work in tech, and a lot of them come on H-1Bs, right? So folks from Cameroon, folks from Nigeria, et cetera, Togo, et cetera. They come here, and I ask them, you know, what do you do to give back? And they say, oh, I don't fuck about home country. I'm like, why? They're like, because they're going to scam you, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like we have this fear of working with each other. And maybe it's PTSD, maybe it's PTCD, post-traumatic slave syndrome, post-traumatic colonization syndrome. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm not Umar Johnson or whatever. But there is an issue there that we need to address. And when I talk about fabrication, I'm not just talking, or when I talk about facilities, I'm not just talking about processors. The same could be said about any aspect of an urban developed economy. We don't produce anything at the high end value chain, right? Everything that we get, we export the raw materials and we get back to fine products, right? So it's not just product processors that I'm talking about. It's every final product that we use, right? Cars, etc. You can go down the list. So until we get the mindset that we're going to do for us, by us, we're going to forever be in this debt trap where they come in, they take our shit for cheap, and they sell it back to us for expensive, and then we end up with a big ass bag to hold. And the only people that's getting rich are foreign countries and politicians, right?
So there's two things I want to say to that. So, and you seem like a young brother. You got a lot of energy and idealism. I love it. Now let's temper that with fair balance. So all the countries in Nigeria, with probably the exception of Ethiopia, were they're imaginary countries. They were made up in the 1880s by Europeans. If you look at it for what it is, all they are just territories to be for resources to be extracted by Europeans, right? So maybe this is changing with the backing of China, but it's very difficult for African leaders to try to change that dynamic in their country, because if they try to do that, they'll most likely get assassinated. So we think about Kwame Nkrumah. We think about
Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara.
There's a long list. Not in Africa, but Central America, South America, Asia, etc. So we can't be too hard on those politicians. They're just trying to stay alive and not catch a bullet to their head, or start their car and it blows up. There's some room to be debated there. But then the other point I want to make is, think about the first generation people who take the risk of leaving their country, leaving their family, etc. So my family's from Jamaica, and my family were farmers. They just farmed for subsistence farm. So, my mother tells me about what that was like. So I can't put that on her head to say, "Oh, Mom, you came to America for such decades. Why don't you go back to Jamaica and build Jamaica up?" Well, shit. If she was, I'm sorry. Well, damn. If she was hungry in Jamaica and just trying to eat on a farm, and she comes to America and we got so much food that people are obese, you can't really ask that person to go back to a situation where they probably didn't have a good economic situation. But ourselves, like yourself or myself, we can take the benefit of being raised in America, getting the access to the education, access to the finances we are, and then we can choose to go back there and to contribute in a positive way. So we talk in these big tent terms that Black people need to do this, but it always comes back down to the individual. And so that's why I threw at you, open up the Black bank account, support the Black banks, because that's how you can build that bridge of money going to Africa.
Do you have any recommendations for a Black bank besides Greenwood?
So
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I screwed up on this the last time I was on, but if you're in Tennessee, I've got a list of the Black banks right now. Tri-State Bank in Memphis. Are you familiar with them? They've got $102 million in their assets right now. So it's Tri-State Bank in Memphis. And then another one in Nashville is Citizen Savings Bank and Trust.
Oh, well, what's the Google search? What, Black-owned banks in Tennessee?
Yep. Or you can do the minority depository institutions, and that'll give you the list. So 4 years ago, there was 20 plus Black banks, and right now it looks like there's 19.
Okay, so which leads to my next question, Mr. Powell. Mm-hmm. The direction that blockchain and crypto is going, I feel like our banks are going in the opposite direction. Right. What are your thoughts on that? Like, if they don't, like you said, there's because I remember here in Atlanta, there was a black-owned bank called Capital City Bank, and they shut down. They shuttered. So the only black bank left, and Atlanta is considered the black mecca, is Citizens Trust Bank, and they had to shut down a couple locations. So it's like and with the way Bitcoin and with the way direction crypto's going, and with the blockchain, I don't think black banks are like catching up.
No, is that black people are not catching up. It's not
okay.
It's not the black bank. So if you look at any business, the more you support that business, the more features and benefits it can provide you.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike, and this is a nut I've been trying to crack for the last 2 years, but I just don't have the pull or power to pull this off by myself. So I'm trying to bring other people in. But I'm going to speak broader than crypto right now because there's a bigger problem in crypto. The issue is that we just talked about the amount of remittance dollars that are going to Africa through multiple channels, informal and formal. Can you imagine if, let's say, generic black bank here in America that blacks are putting their money into can open up a partnership or a branch in Accra or Lagos.
Right.
So that if I want to go to Dinah Amir's real estate agency and buy a house, all I got to do is go to that branch in Africa and say, look, I've already got an account with you in America. I want to get a mortgage and put down on this land here to start a business or to buy this house, etc. You've already got my credit in the States. Can you imagine what would happen to the value of assets on the continent? Can you imagine the power that Black Americans would have as far as being able to influence politicians, influence economics, etc.? Not only here, but in the continent. Go ahead, bro.
Now I'm going to just say, for as an African American, you both are African Americans. In African America that we have a certain segment of our population that needs things to be very clear, very simple, very presented well, and very easy to trust, because y'all know how we be. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're like, oh, I ain't trying to mess with that, right? So I think I agree with you 100% that we need to put our money together. The only thing that we really need probably is like an app. Now, I'm an app developer, right? I've worked for some Fortune 500 companies. I won't go through the list, but I've worked with maybe, 3 or 4 of them. And what I will say is, what we need is an app, like a Robinhood or are y'all familiar with Ally?
Yeah, Ally Bank, yeah.
Ally Bank, right? We need something that's easy, simple to use, that we can promote, that people can just download on the App Store and clearly see that it's Black owned, Black trusted, trust that who, something like that. Because we want to make that transition as smooth as possible. Why should you? Because think about what they're giving up, right? So I bank with Regions. So if I switch to a Black-owned bank, I want to know they're as good as Regions, right?
As far like, okay, what do you? So let me ask you this: how often do you go actually step foot into a bank?
Never. I do everything online.
Right. So I mean, all these banks now have online apps. Like my bank, Citizens Trust Bank, has an online app. I could transfer money. I could do whatever. Same thing with One United Bank. So I mean, the resources are there. And then Regis, I'm pretty sure they're not like, because I mean, you have your upper tier banks, in quotation marks, like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, right. Chase, where pretty much you'll get 24/7 customer service. And, if there's a dispute or charge back, they'll credit your account back immediately. Then outside of that, I mean, it's pretty much, I'm pretty sure a Regis Bank phone hours, 9 to 5, 8 to 6,
Something like that, but the mobile app is really good, right? And if you go to an ATM, it's really good. But yeah, I mean, but the key thing about why I like Regions is you can open it up real easy. Anybody here don't matter your credit, don't matter nothing. You can open up a Regions real easy.
That's all banks, unless you have. I forgot what it is. Like if you, I forgot. So it doesn't matter your credit score. Is this, Mr. Powell? It's when they it's called bank. It's called, I forgot the system they use to see if you like have accounts that are in the red, like at other banks. It's called Tracks or something like that.
Yeah, I know.
They be acting funny. Regions don't act like that. But all I'm saying is, if we have like some, I think like if you look at the NASDAQ and you look at all these IPOs that are coming up and you see all these unicorns that are popping up, if we have a black Elon Musk, basically, you know what I'm saying? A black Zuckerberg, basically, who can come out with some like app, and we all know that app is like black owned and black led. Like the CEO is black, the shareholders are black, whatever. And it's easy to use. You're not giving up anything. I think something like that would really, really get a lot of folks on board. I think when you start hearing about like $1 million in equity here or small, people are like, oh, why would I fuck with them when I just got, you know what I'm saying? You know how we be. We go with convenience, you know what I'm saying?
No, black people still wouldn't support it. I'll give you an example. Tidal music streaming. Jay-Z is divesting from that right now. So Tidal's about to get bought out by the guy who who owns Twitter.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey. So the entirety of Black America did not jump on Tidal just because Jay-Z owned it.
I'm gonna tell you why. Not to defend the black people that did not support Tidal. I think what killed it was Tidal. Was that the one when they showed the picture with his staff and it was all white people?
It may have been. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was it. And black people were like, I mean, the entire staff was. I mean, Eric, the entire staff was white except for Jay-Z.
I get that, but let's take a step back. Let's take a step back, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's black owned, it's black operated ish, right? I'm gonna just give Jay-Z the benefit of the doubt and say this: for what he was trying to accomplish within his circle, he probably felt that those were the best people for the job.
Man, I just working in corporate America and see the type of talent that and nepotism that goes on. I disagree. I know in that organization he could have found at least one black person to do the job.
Okay, but here's the reason why I'm going to say this. I know a lot of people out in cyberspace. You got to understand it strategically. In the tech sector, it's not all about what you know. At that level, it's about who you know. Black people do not have a representation in tech. So if I'm going to put down multiple millions or multiple billions on something that can fail very easily, because he was competing against Apple, which is suicide, right? Because Apple always wins. It always finds a way to win. He's competing against Apple. He's competing against Spotify. So when he made that risk, he had to hire people who not only knew people in the music industry, they had to know people in the cloud computing. They had to know people in finance, and they have to be deep in those sectors. We are just not deep in those sectors across the board as non-melanated people. I don't know, but I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt after working with tech. Now, that being said, if it's a smaller company and there's less risk involved, then he could get away with having an all black or a more multi-ethnic team to work with. But VCs want to see your team before they give VCs, venture capitalists, when they write those checks for several $1 million in multiple rounds, they want to see that you've got a deep bench of people that have already done or been successful at what you're trying to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, I get it. But see, I guess I would need to dig deeper and see the actual roles that each employee. I mean, when he took that picture, it was like 50 employees.
Right.
Everyone was white. And just like, come on. I mean, you could have had at least a black janitor or something. I'm just saying, like, I hear you, Eric. Now, I understand. When so I get it when you're talking about like your C-suite. Like, I get it. Okay, it's whatever. But I mean, just the secretary. I mean, you couldn't find a black secretary. I mean,
again, I wasn't in those rooms. I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt because I'm a Jay-Z supporter. Because as a businessman, I'm a Jay-Z.
I got a top 100 list. Jay-Z ain't in it. I'm just sorry. I mean, I got Juvenile up there. I got Nas up there. Jay-Z ain't in it. That's just me. But Lil Wayne in there too. But all I got to say is this: look at PayPal, right? PayPal. What happened was, they knew they needed to get a lot of customers, regardless of their ethnicity or background. So what did they do? They decided to do like a rebate, basically, where when you sign up, you get like $100. That launched PayPal into its success that it is today. It's like what, a $50 billion company or whatever it is. If you go back and you look at the interviews with, what is his name? Peter Thiel and Musk talking about it, they were debating like, hey, do we have the capital needed to basically, give all of our customers $100? And they said, yeah, because they're going to end up putting back more than $100 in the big bank accounts, right? They're going to take their money from their other bank accounts and put it in here. So we're going to get back more than we get. So it was basically they're spending $100 in a really, really efficient marketing budget, basically, rather than paying for advertisements. Just give the money directly to the people. And they're, so there's two things that Black people want: money and convenience. That's it. Money and convenience, right? So if you make your app or your bank or whatever service you're trying to do very convenient, and you give them a way to where they think they can make money on it, sold. You ain't got to say nothing else. You know what I'm saying? So really, what we got to start doing is we got to start thinking of like that us versus them mentality, where we're thinking, okay, we have a population here, and we have a global population, obviously, but we have a very unique population here, and we have a lot of talent, and we have a lot of human capital that we can really utilize. How do we engage them? How do we motivate them? How do we activate that? And America, it's like who said it? Charlemagne the God said it. America's not a country, it's a business. Right? America's not really a country, it's a business.
I kind of don't like those one-liners because they leave out all the facts and the nuance. But the point I'm trying to get to, bro, we brought up title and Black business and the app. The thing is, it's about how much do you want it? That's really what it comes down to. When we think about how Jewish people used to be a minority, they weren't even considered white at one point up until the early 20th century, them and Italians. But Jewish people said, look, we're going to work together. We're going to have our own banks, etc. Now we got banks like Goldman Sachs. We've got et cetera, et cetera. It all starts at the banks. It doesn't matter how good your idea is. It doesn't matter how good your tool is or your app. If you cannot get funding to take that app from an idea and into a full-fledged MVP and then a full-fledged marketable service or product, it really doesn't matter what's going on. And the only way you can do that is if Black people actually bank Black. That was a tongue twister. I had to get
No. Two ways, right? One, what you're saying, Black folks back Black owned businesses, but the other way is what Dr. Dre did with Tim Cook, what Tidal did with Twitter, Jack Dorsey,
right,
where you have a Black CEO or a Black figure, but he's going to get white money, right?
That just turned me off. Let me just throw some numbers at you, just why that turned me off. The latest research I did is that Black America has $1.6 trillion in spending power, right? So you can get that off of Nielsen documentation. Guess how much money is in Black banks as deposits?
I would say maybe if even 5% of that.
Not even. There's. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the numbers now from the government, FDIC. We have $5.5 billion in
Woo!
banks in the United States. So let's do a quick math about 5.5 billion divided by 1.6 trillion. I've already done the math. It's less than 0.01%. So 0% of black dollars of the total 0% of the total black dollars available to black people are in black banks. And then we wonder why we can't get loans, why our businesses close up so fast, why service is so bad, why that girl behind the cash register got an attitude? Well,
Right?
maybe she ain't getting paid enough. And then why the owner already got an attitude? Well, he can't hire somebody new, so he's working 24 hours.
You're
Why we
right.
don't have any black Zuckerbergs? Well, we ain't got no money to give them in VC, or we waiting on white dollars to make a black Zuckerberg. Okay, let's talk about.
And on top of that, I mean, I'm gonna let you continue, but on top of that, when we go to actually interview or get jobs or move up, we tend to go get interviews at white-owned companies as opposed to black-owned companies.
Exactly. So that was a point, 2 points I was getting ready to make it. And I'm glad you brought that up. The second part is when we look at VC dollars, venture capital dollars in the United States, less than 1% goes to our people, because getting access to VC dollars means that you got to know somebody. So not only do you have to have a great idea that is marketable, you got to know somebody in order to get those white dollars. The third thing is black people in America. I don't know how it is in Africa, so I won't speak on it, but definitely in America, we celebrate. It's kind of perverse in a way. We celebrate our people going to Harvard and Yale and getting these degrees, these MDs, etc. And then they go work for a white organization to make their white organization more profitable.
The exact same in Africa, yeah, because look at Africans that go to Cambridge, right? They go to Cambridge, they go to et cetera, et cetera. You're right. It's the same thing.
So why are we? And this goes back to a lot of the books. If you read books on Pan-Africanism, we should be educating our people to solve our problems, because black people all over the world have very distinct problems than other peoples. So when we talk about blockchain, we sort of, I guess we got off the point on blockchain. When we talk about blockchain, huh?
It's all connected.
Right, it is. Blockchain can solve some of the problems that we look at with what we're talking about as far as remittances. How are we getting money back home to grandma in Nigeria? How are we getting home to our brother that's the farmer in Ghana? Do we have to go through Western Union? Do we have to pay taxes and fees, etc.? This is where blockchain comes in. And then we talk about actual, structural problems in Africa that we can solve with blockchain. One, we can good. One, we can educate our young brothers like yourself, educate you on how to get VC dollars, educate you on how to leverage the black dollar to fund your app that you want to make for a black bank. And that black bank can start making money so they can open up a branch in Lagos. And then that branch in Lagos.
I'm working on social media. I'm not working on fintech. I'm not doing fintech. That's a whole dragon to slay. I'm working on social media. So I'll hit y'all up when I release that. But what I can say is this about blockchain, okay? It's like this, okay? So my only issue with blockchain and crypto is that when you look at because I'm a coder, I'm a software developer, right? I've been doing this since I was a long time ago. When you look at the actual way that it's implemented, it's kind of like writing a check, right? When you write a check, you still need someone to actually produce the funds, right? If I write you a check, you have to take that check to a bank, and that bank has to take the money from my account to your account, right? That's kind of like what blockchain is. The check is the actual transaction. The sent, like my address to your address, but it has to be confirmed by miners, right? What that means is If with BTC, Bitcoin, if I send you $100 on Bitcoin from my address to your address, the miners on the public ledger have to pick that up and confirm it. Usually it takes 2 or 3 confirmations, which take an hour to a day, or maybe even longer. I estimate within 10 years, a simple $100 transaction could probably take a week or more, maybe even 3 or 4 months to confirm. So the point I'm making is that
Hold on. Eric, what are your thoughts on that? Because I mean, from what I'm noticing, the new, I guess, technology that's coming out, it's supposed to speed transactions up even more.
Correct. So if you're looking at Bitcoin to do that, the technology with the Lightning network, confirmations get down to a matter of minutes, not hours. So it depends on the traffic. But there are blockchains like
so it's BTC-H and then BTC.
Right. I mean, it depends on the blockchain, but there are projects that are more suitable for commercial enterprise, such as XRP, XLM, and a couple others that confirm in a matter of seconds to minutes. So it depends.
But they're new, right? When I first got into Bitcoin, it was seconds, milliseconds, and then it slowed down. These other cryptos, these altcoins, as we call them, there's no fundamental principle that they couldn't become slower at some point as the difficulty for confirming the transactions and mining the coins go up, which means the electricity input you have to put into each coin goes up. Now, if you keep creating new coins, then yes, theoretically you'll never have an issue, because if the difficulty comes up on coin A, just create coin B, and it takes X amount of time for coin B to become slow. So just keep creating new coins and you never have that issue. But the only point I'm making is not necessarily solely in transaction speed or confirmation speed, but in who controls the mining network, right? And I get what you're saying. It's hard to do fabrications. It's hard to do that. But maybe we can hybrid approach, right? Like, for example, I don't drive a Tesla because I need to drive long distance, right? If I want to go 1,000 miles, I'm not taking my fucking Tesla, right? Don't make sense. I need a hybrid or a gas car, right? So similarly,
can you explain why you wouldn't drive a Tesla? I don't know. I'm kind of behind the technology 8-ball. So you can't drive Teslas long distances,
right? You have to charge the car, and you need a gas station to pump gas, but you need a charging station to charge your Tesla. And charging stations are not as available as gas stations. So if you're driving to bumfuck Mississippi, right? You might not find a Tesla station within 300 miles. Your car will basically brick and stuck there. But gas stations are everywhere, right? So the point I'm making is that hybrid cars are good. They use electricity to give you the MPG, but they also give you the option to fuel with gas when you need it. So similarly, I'm just saying with cryptos, what we could think about is maybe we could buy the infrastructure that we need temporarily to earn the capital that we need to then invest in the production of those hardwares that we bought to begin with.
Okay. So in this grand plan, who's going to provide the capital to do that? One.
Africa actually has a shit ton of natural resources. I would rather you take the proceeds from the natural resources to buy that than what are we doing with it now? I don't know. Hotels and I don't know. I mean, Congo just sold $100 million mine in China. I don't know where that money's going. They just got $100 million from China. I don't know where it's going.
Okay, Nigeria and Ghana have oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oil is a known quantity. It has its own value. They take a percentage of their oil and then they buy these equipment. Now they got the equipment at the dock. They say, "Okay, boss, where are we taking this? Okay, where are you going to take it?"
Well, okay, look at it from this point of view. When you print money, fiat currency, right? It doesn't matter how much currency you print. What matters is what you're backing your currency in. In Nigeria's case, it's oil. The problem with oil is it's part of the OPEC. There's like what 15 countries in OPEC.
Wait. You're moving the goalposts. Let's go back to this and just think logically. So you traded oil for money. Let's just say $1 billion. Just a nice run. You bought up some ASICs from China. You pay for the shipping. They drop it off at the dock, and they say, "Okay, boss, where are we taking this? What's the next step? We got to physically put this stuff in." So we take it to, let's just say, a building that they built.
Mm-hmm.
Now we provide energy that is, or electricity that is not reliable. You need this stuff running all the time, right?
I mean, they got oil. Nigeria is a bad example because they have plenty of oil to run their generators.
Okay, so you're gonna run a crypto farm that is big enough that you're trading your resources for to get a return on investment on oil. That's not very efficient. Then
it's more profitable to just sell the oil. You're right.
Exactly.
But you can also just buy renewables like hydro or solar.
Okay, so let's say I'll play along. So we buy some hydro or solar, let's say solar, and we build it out somewhere near the Sahel. Okay. Now, where are you going to get the technologists to run that place, to manage it? And then how much are you going to pay them? Are you going to pay them in USD? You going to pay them in Naira? You going to pay them in Bitcoin?
See, now you're getting at the real issue. The issue isn't the technology or the production capacity or the raw minerals or the capital. The issue is the human capital, the brains.
Exactly.
And guess what we all are in fucking America and UK. That's the issue. We're all over here, making money, being happy, and we're not really giving a fuck about. That's the issue. That's the real issue. That's the real issue.
Okay. I mean, so the point I'm trying to get is, I mean, it's great to have these, high level discussions about theory and what we should be doing. But at the end of the day, when you drop your 2 feet off on the ground in a developing country, you got to take whatever you got right there and you got to make it the best that you possibly can.
You're right. I mean, the best bet is because Africans or African Americans or African Englanders or wherever they are, right? Because we don't really want to play ball. The best bet is just to import Indians and Chinese people and Koreans, because guess what? They will be the technologists. They're looking for jobs. They're looking for work because they're overpopulated in their home countries. So my fear is that they will gradually become the preferred labor class for skilled work as opposed to black folks. And that's already happening in the US.
But why?
If you look at tech companies, it's like mostly Indians and Chinese people and white people, because Africans are just not doing it. We're just not doing the work that we need to do. It's kind of sad, to be honest.
But I don't think important Indians or Chinese to do that. So from some of the things I read before is that Nigeria has some of the smartest people in Africa. So
On a planet.
Yeah, on the planet. So the highest intelligence. So if you got high intelligent people already on the ground, you don't have to worry about intelligence at that point. All you got to do is one, get the government out the way, and then
but that's the issue. They're not. Some of them stay, but a lot leave to Europe and America and New Zealand and Australia.
Okay, so let's just go to the average. Let's say all the geniuses get on a boat or a plane and leave. If you just get the average person, this stuff is not really that difficult. It just takes time to learn it. If you get someone of average intelligence, they can become a coder, they can become a web administrator, they can become a network administrator. So I don't know. I'm bullish on Africa. I believe in Africans that they can solve their own problems. I just think the problems are a lot bigger than one person.
Well, if you're right that we have enough capacity that are willing to stay, then your original question, which is where do we get the technologists, you're answering it locally. But that's a question that remains to be answered. Can we, if we are able to convert enough of our raw resource generated funds into production capacity, can we then employ the local African native Black population to run that capacity efficient? That's a question that's open. We don't know yet because we haven't tried it.
Well, yes, Africa is Kenya is a great example of that. Kenya is building up their own Silicon Valley. Rwanda is doing it with Kagame. They're investing in their technology sector. So there is forward movement on that. But my thing is, I would just rather see. I know that a lot of money is going through to Africa through ways that aren't organized. I just want the diaspora and Pan-Africans to start to look at this in an organized way, just like the Chinese is doing their economy. The Chinese have 100-year plan. 100 years. They are patient. They are focused. They're dedicated to that. Americans at most have a 2-week plan. It's called paycheck to paycheck. And if you look at politics, it's every 4 years or every 2 years, depending on the level of government. But the point is, Africans can no longer sit by and not have a plan and not take advantage of the wealth and the knowledge of the diaspora and focus that on building up the continent.
By the way, Ryland Industries, what do you do?
It's actually an IT company. I'm getting ready to pivot it into other directions at this point.
Yeah, I'm interested if I can see my resume. You too, Dynast. I know you got a real estate company. I have my own little shit that I'm working on. I can share that too. But I'm really interested in working with African Americans and Africans abroad to make sure that we're working together. So give me a little, if you don't mind. I know you probably got to wrap up, but can you give me like a quick little something?
What do you mean?
Okay, so Riley Industries, like, what is the pitch there? What is it? What is the company?
So it was originally before the virus started. It was originally focused on providing cybersecurity to small and medium businesses. So if you look at how businesses were getting hacked, a lot of the larger businesses that could afford to put things in place or remediate, they were taken care of. But if you look at the small and medium business owner, they didn't have the access to funds or technology. So the thought was to provide them with the basic tools and services to do that at a reasonable market price. So instead of them paying for the 5-course meal, they could pay for the McDonald's meal of IT and cybersecurity. So it's essentially, it was an IT company.
So are you using like OAuth? Are you using two-factor? Like what kind of security?
Well, it depends on the company, because every company is different. So some companies might require different levels of security, different levels of security service. So I'll just give you an example. So what you want to do is you want to get them off of paper and pencil as fast as possible. You want to organize them and put them on the cloud. And then the onus is on the cloud provider to provide the security on the data. You back up the data frequently, and then you start to implement those things like two-factor and whatever other security needs they might have. And a lot of that stuff can be white labeled from other resources, and you just stamp your logo on it and you resell it.
All right. So like when you say cloud, are you talking AWS? Are you talking Azure?
So what I found was that Google was probably gave the most competitive price and competitive services for that small and medium business segment. AWS tends to be more
kind of pricey.
Expensive. Yeah, expensive. And then Oracle.
Firebase is really nice. They give you free, what is it, SSL? That's nice.
Yeah. So those are our questions. But I think Dynast wants to focus on crypto this evening. Dynast, what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But hey, brother Eric, we appreciate you coming on, man. We'll have you on another show. We're gonna go ahead and close out.
Okay. All right, I appreciate it, man. Is that your email? Oh, no. Okay. Eric Powell, send me your email, or Dynast, you can coordinate that, and I'll get up with you offline.
So, Dynasty,
Okay.
before we wrap up, did you want to talk about the quick and dirty list of how to get started in crypto?
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So if you're out there and you're listening, you want to get started in crypto, I created this list for Dynasty. So if you're listening, here are the things you want to. There's different ways of getting into crypto, and everybody doesn't have the same capacity to do everything. So find out what you're good at, and then deep dive in it. If you want to get into hardware, I suggest you look at CompTIA. They give you some very basic courses that you could take and get certifications behind that. So start with the IT fundamentals course. It's very easy, and if you're out on the continent, try that if you want to get a certification. Really good. If you want to get into software development, there's plenty of free resources. So everything I'm saying isn't all encompassing, but go on the Ethereum website and look up Solidity. There's also Consensus, the Coursera Consensus Academy. You can take courses there. There's Udemy. And then finally, there's the MIT OpenCourseWare, where you can get a lot of information for free. The next one you can look at is AWS blockchain and IBM blockchain, where you can learn how to set up blockchains for companies in the cloud on those public clouds of AWS and IBM. And then finally, if you want to get into crypto, you got to learn finance. I suggest going to the U.S. Federal Reserve website. They have a robust education website where you can learn about central banks and learn about why cryptocurrency is probably going to either replace central banks as we know it entirely, or become a greater and more important component of central banks. So those are great places to start. And a lot of those things are free or low cost. And it's good to get your feet wet in the crypto. And then the final thing I'll say is, it is very important that you find other people with the same interests, with the same passions that you want to do in this, because you'll learn things faster and you'll learn things that maybe you missed, and it can help you in your growth and development. So I'll leave it at that.
Yes, sir. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. Peace.
All right, thanks.